Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Truck Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hannaberry. For those operating in the transportation industry, it's possible that you've heard terms like carrier compliance, operating authority, fitness certificates, and probably a few more. So these are important terms as they all speak directly to a carrier's ability to operate on the roadway. So in order for a carrier, also known as a trucking company, to have commercial vehicles operating on the road, a specific document is required. And this document is called a safety fitness certificate. So this document's extremely important as it's proof of compliance with a number of different requirements. So in today's episode, I'm excited to bring back to the podcast a good friend of mine and fellow industry advocate, Jeremy Woolward. We're going to discuss the current and upcoming processes to maintain and obtain your safety fitness certificate. You can learn more about Jeremy by checking out episode 8 of the Truck Focus podcast. So in this episode 8, Jeremy shares his journey. It's super empowering. So I definitely recommend that you check it out. So if you're currently a trucking company, or if you're looking to venture into trucking, so transportation, then I definitely want you to check out this episode and make sure you take a lot of notes as Jeremy shares point by point tidbits of information that you really need to know in order to obtain your fitness certificate, but also to recertify. So basically come February 28th, 2022, there's a new process in Alberta that all commercial carriers need to apply for. Make sure that you check it out, make some notes, mark the calendar too to ensure that you get this process done before that deadline. Well, let's get to it. Friends in the industry, first off, I hope you're having a great day. I'm excited to introduce to our sponsors, Compliance Box. Compliance Box, transport compliance made easy. Compliance Box is an expertly designed, easy to use mobile app that offers electronic inspections that are automatically risk rated to keep your fleet safe and your employees focused. So for some time now, I've been impressed with Compliance Box as they have improved the way commercial carriers and professional drivers can manage their transportation requirements. So Compliance Box was created by the team at KCAN Safety Consulting. They've been in the transportation compliance business for over 20 years and are certified by Alberta Transportation to conduct assessment of regulatory compliance NSC audits, as well as new carrier compliance reviews. After years of completing compliance audits on commercial carriers, they've seen areas where carriers commonly struggle. So Compliance Box was built to address those areas easily and effectively. As transportation compliance experts, they were able to build Compliance Box in such a way that helps companies achieve a better score in their compliance audit while keeping their user experience front of mind. So with the constant improvements in the works, we're excited to see the continued impact Compliance Box will have on carriers' operations, on the lives of professional drivers, and ultimately for public safety. So let me ask you this. As a commercial carrier or a professional driver that operates a commercial vehicle that does require pre-trip inspection to be completed properly before they're driven, and the requirement to maintain those trip inspection reports documentations for a specific period of time, would you not feel more confident knowing you're using Compliance Box, an expertly designed, easy to use mobile app that offers electronic inspections that are automatically risk rated to keep your fleet safe and your employees focused? I sure do. And I'm very excited about the impact Compliance Box is having in our industry, and I highly recommend utilizing them, implementing them into your own fleets today. And best of all, their values really do align with ours, and they're dedicated to support our local economy. So Compliance Box is and always will be designed, developed, and hosted in Canada, which I think is super incredible. So I encourage you to start a free trial, that's right, free trial on this excellent product today. So you can complete your free trial simply by visiting compliancebox.ca. And while on the website, check out the top right corner, click on the icon that says start your free trial. Simply include the required information, hit the submit button, and a company representative will be in contact with you right away. So again, Compliance Box, transport compliance made easy. I highly recommend that you check them out. Simply visit www.compliancebox.ca. Thanks everyone. Talk to you soon. Hey, Jeremy, welcome back to the Truck Focus podcast. Super excited for today.
Hey, Josh, great to be back. How are you?
Yeah, man, really good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Been a good day, been a long week, but otherwise really, really good. Really excited to be here today.
Good. Yeah, no, I feel you. And yeah, it's nice. This is a topic that I know is, I'd say, close to both of us, especially for yourself, seeing as you just went through it. And we're talking obviously of the NSC safety fitness certificates, what it is, the renewal process, And I know we meant to do this episode a little bit ago, but the fact that we're both running around a million miles an hour, totally stoked that we're doing it today. But yeah, super happy that you're here.
Oh, thank you, Josh. It's great to be here, and it's great to talk about it. May not seem like a lot to many people, and in the grand scheme of things, it's one of the smaller pieces we got to deal with. But at the same time, the smaller pieces have significant factors. Small pieces make the big pieces work. So yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. I like to say small act, big impact. So.
There you go. I like that now.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, why don't you kind of give us a recap? Super grateful you were on an episode actually when we first launched too, which was huge. But recap, who is Jeremy?
Okay. Well, I work by day as a fleet safety officer, core auditor, and NSE trainer for Chariot Express Limited, small hotshot carrier service out of Calgary, Alberta. We service Calgary, Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan primarily. We've done recent dives into Manitoba, and so I say we are a federal carrier, and we've been around since '83. So it's almost 40 years. They incorporated a few months after I was born. So there's some perspective. This place is as old as I am. So it's kind of funny. And then when I'm not here, and well, when we're not dealing with COVID, I'm doing some fun other hobbies. Wrestling's a hobby close to heart. Trying to train. And then also too, when I'm not throwing people around either at work or at home, I'm also starting my own little consulting firm, Praedum Calum Compliance. And really, let's say for me is more so the audit end, kind of like an audit doctor. I go in, I look at what's being asked by auditors, or hopefully be asked what's by auditors for carriers to fix, and then help them fix it, or get someone up and running who's never done it before, which has kind of been some hands-on experience this past week, getting a new operator up and running and taking them through the rigmarole of actually getting a safety fitness certificate here in Alberta. And it's been fun. See, I never had to get one myself because Chariot's had one forever, but actually walking someone through those steps, it's a great little refresher for any carrier, what they need to do. Go back to the basics, start again, and it's just keeps your mind fresh. So no, that's been where I've been at this past week or so.
That's awesome. Yeah, and again, seeing that you're so busy, I appreciate your time this afternoon. And I find it really just phenomenal timing, knowing that you've just been through this again with the new carrier, and we're talking an NSC safety fitness certificate. So it's just nice to know that this isn't just a what if conversation, but this is what we're living every single day conversation.
Absolutely.
So why don't you kind of start us off and highlight what is a fitness safety certificate?
So a safety fitness certificate, in essence, is a driver's license for a carrier. Without this document, your carrier is not allowed to operate on Alberta highways. That is the simplest definition that's ever been explained to me. Like, you have a plastic card that allows you to drive a personal vehicle. This 8.5 by 11 document you download, you frame it, you put it in your vehicles. This is your driver's license for the company. It sets you up what status you have, so where you're operating, whether it be solely within the province of Alberta, whether you're allowed to operate Alberta, Canada, or the United States. Big part there. It determines any conditions attached. So again, we do have safety ratings that are attached to those safety fitness certificates, and those ratings each come with a certain set of standards. Some good, some not as good as others. But realistically, without it, you can't operate. You may have the best trained drivers in the world. You may have the best services out there, but without that one document, your whole operation gets shut down before it even begins. So, very vital piece of information.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to break it down. And I still remember in BC when we applied for our first, because we did the opposite. We were operating what we thought was legally under someone else's. This was a long time ago. to find out, you need your own. And yeah, the process back then is very different than the process today. But yeah, realizing on the roadside when law enforcement's like, this doesn't match up. Okay, yeah, that's a super important document. And yeah, so I'm excited to dive kind of into it right now. So you kind of mentioned different locations that people would travel. So obviously a provincial carrier, a federal carrier, and just, their operating duty status would be different, or the operating status would be different. Can you kind of walk us through what are the two differentiating factors between those two, and what would that look like on their actual certificate? What would be different?
Well, what would be different on the certificates is really there are two statuses in Alberta. You're either federal or you're provincial. And the thing is that Alberta and Saskatchewan are the only two jurisdictions that actually hold provincial because of provincial hours of service and the like. So we had different rules set up years ago to accommodate a couple industries. So we went and kind of did our own thing. But in essence, a provincial safety fitness certificate allows you to operate solely within the province of Alberta. There is no leaving under normal circumstances to go do commercial trips outside those boundaries. A federal state rating or federal status on your safety fitness certificate allows you to operate anywhere in Canada and allows you to operate in the United States. Now, granted, I don't think you're going to be taking a commercial truck to Hawaii, but this will let you get to the bottom 48 and Alaska if you want to think about it. But that is your base of operation. So you are allowed as a federal carrier to operate in the United States of America. That is a whole can of worms. I am not familiar with that, so I am not going to speak to operating in the US. I can speak to just operating in Canada here. So like say, Chariot Express, we are a federal carrier because we are a hotshot service. And we've done work in BC, we've done work Saskatchewan, Manitoba. So we have to get that. And there's a big misconception out there that, oh, well, what if I get a permit? Because everyone loves the magic P word. Permits let you, in plain English, let you legally break the law. The reality is that the province of Alberta will not issue under normal circumstances any single trip permit to leave the province. If people are saying, well, I get a single permit to go out of here, what they've actually done is acquired a permit in another jurisdiction to operate, but realistically, then you're just becoming a federal carrier. Like there are advantages and disadvantages to both operating statuses. But the important part is, like, some people try and circumnavigate it because a provincial carrier typically are those running 11,794 kilo or up or above. No, yeah, 11,794 and up. And then federal carriers are those who have commercial vehicles over 4,500 kilograms. The provincial guys don't want to do, 4,500. I have a 3-ton truck that's like GVW of 8,000. I don't want to do this stuff, so I'm going to go provincial. Well, the nice reality is that unless they have a proper permit that exempts them from trip inspection requirements at less than 11,794, those standards really are the same. Everything's more or less the same, except for the hours of service. And even then, there is whispers that Alberta is going to eventually adopt the federal mandate anyway. So now what? But that, again, is another speculative crystal ball conversation for another day and kind of outside the scope of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, no, that's a good, I'd say, overview for sure, because you see it all the time, trucks traveling down the road, 11,700 kilograms. And I'm like, okay, like I think aside from hours of service performance, I don't see the benefit when you think of, okay, well, what is compliance? What does it take to, I guess, operate within the boundaries of compliance? Right. So when you're running that close to the line, and yeah, I can't say they're all breaking the law by any means, but if someone planted that in your ear, only register for this much, so you don't have to do all this other stuff. Okay, well, there's still a lot of other requirements you have to hit. Cargo securement is a big one. Crossing scales is a big one. Still physically doing a pre-trip is a big one, aside from maybe not the documentation side. So, but yeah, I think it's a gap that I'm in favor of Alberta accepting, like, the federal mandate across the board, similar to Ontario, where It's like, okay, you have an F-150 in a trailer and you exceed 4501. Perfect. Like,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing. You know that you need a CVIP, you know, like, so yeah, there's a lot of those good things where in Alberta, yeah, you kind of have that leeway partially due to oil field and agriculture, but yeah. So when someone, I'll ask you a question. So if I'm a carrier or about to be carrier and I want to go provincial or federal, is the process to obtain a fitness certificate different or is it similar?
It's actually the same. It's actually the same process, because what's great about this application process, and I did it when we were doing the renewal. So renewal application, new first timers, it's the process, Josh, is exactly the same. They're going to ask you the vitals: company name, company phone number, company fax, blah, 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 blah. They're going to ask you about the trucks you operate, and they're going to ask you what type of equipment you're hauling. They're going to ask whether you're hauling dangerous goods. So really a lot of it is paint by numbers. You need to know your business. Know your business, know what you want. But there's one question that's then going to really make or break the whole process and could really muck you up if you're not reading it properly, is where do you intend to work? There's one question on there. Are you intending to work within Alberta or are you intending to work outside of Alberta? Now, some people are going to get caught up on the idea like, well, I'm in Alberta, but I want to go do this. Or, well, I just don't want to be outside. I actually want to work in Alberta too. You have to understand the way they word it. If they're operating within Alberta, you are provincial. If you are operating outside of Alberta, you are federal. But that doesn't mean you can't operate in Alberta. So that's what people have to wrap their heads around, knowing that the question is specifically stating like, you want to leave or do you want to stay? If you specifically just want to stay, you are a provincial carrier. If you want to leave, you are a federal carrier. And the rest of the process is exactly the same. You also, what is different from before to now is when you're actually filling out the application, you're also submitting a copy of your safety program. So back before 2019, back before legislation surrounding MELT and entry level and the new safety fitness certificates came into being, the province of Alberta issued what were called temporary safety fitness certificates. And if I remember right, and I don't really, so don't quote me, if someone wants to go out there in the chat land and correct and say, oh my gosh, he's a heathen. It was before my time, before I stepped into this role. If I remember right, I believe it was 60 days or 90 days, one of the two. You had either 60 or 90 days to operate as a temporary certificate. You can walk into a registry office, and you can get the damn thing. It was pretty simple. Anybody could be a carrier, okay? You also had to declare then that you actually had a maintenance program in place, a compliance and maintenance program in place, but you never had to prove it. Now, legislation changed in 2019, which is important, that they've abolished this temporary safety fitness certificates. So if you want to become a new carrier in Alberta, you're going to have to put a little bit more skin in the game. Pardon the expression. First thing you got to do is you sign up to 511 Alberta. So it's the same website you're going to get road reports, camera feeds, stuff like that. They'll always be the ones I'll tell you on Twitter that, oh, we got oversized loads here, wide loads here, don't travel this road, so on and so forth. You can sign up for free as a commercial carrier, and you can do the new carrier entry course. 6 modules, takes about 6 to 8 hours, but it is a brief overview of what your requirements are. So what is the National Safety Code? How do you keep your records? What are your hours of service looking like? What is your preventative maintenance looking like? Training requirements. So there are 6 modules that touch on all this as a broad overview. Basically, they want to make sure you understand what it is you're actually getting into. Easy enough to pass, very simple, very straightforward. Honestly, if someone's going to go and wants to study for it, download the Commercial Vehicle Compliance in Alberta manual they just updated back in March. Free resource from the government's website. I'm sure we can pop a link down at the bottom here so people can have it. And study it. Like, it'll tell you everything you absolutely need to know in order to pass that entry-level course. That's step 1. Then step 2 is you got to go and you gotta find a vehicle, find your vehicle. In the case with the new operator I'm working with, he can't get his safety fitness certificate just yet because his vehicle's on back order. So we've taken care of some of the other steps along the way, but he can't do the most pivotal one, is get the vehicle registered, get the vehicle insured. So those are key. Make sure you're registering for the right type of plate. Typically, class 1 plates. If you're going, just get class 1 plates unless you absolutely have no other reason to get 2s or 3s. Just let's be real. Get a class 1 commercial plate. Register it, class it. Then you're gonna apply for the safety fitness certificate. But before that, you're gonna do a test at the registry's office. It is your safety fitness certificate entrance exam, as it were. I've never seen the test. I myself have never had to register a vehicle as a carrier. Chariot's been established, so I don't have to do it. So, but I hear they're pretty simple, pretty straightforward exam. I tell drivers, subcontractors who have to go through this process, I'm like, if you can pass what I have, you should be able to pass this, because because you see some of the content, I can be a little bit more anal than some, just because of some aspirations. I'll raise the bar and push it, not because there's some desire to be better than others. But the thing is that, as we've talked before in the last time I was here, compliance is a mindset. And if we're going to shift the paradigm and we're going to raise that standard of excellence, then it has to start at our level. So I put my subcontractors through a little bit more rigorous training because they are carriers. They don't think about it. They don't see it that way. They see themselves as operators. But I'm like, no, you're a carrier of one. You're a carrier. Therefore, your standards are going to be that much higher, and I'm going to expect that much more, because it's your neck, my neck on the line. So let's get it done. But I tell them, if you can pass mine, you can easily go and pass theirs.
Yes.
And I think that's more than fair.
Yes.
The next part is now when you have your vehicle's registered, your vehicle is insured for the appropriate amounts of insurance. Now, there are standards for that. Again, that Commercial Vehicle Safety Compliance Alberta Manual does break down what is legally required for insurance in Alberta. So I recommend people look at it, because everyone's needs are a little bit different, especially if you're choosing to haul dangerous goods or supplying dangerous goods. Your insurance requirements are going to be a little bit more. But then you go online to the website to apply. So the Government Alberta website, and again, we'll pop a link. I'm sure we can pop a link, because I don't have memorized. I'm sorry, Josh. But we'll pop a link for the registration, and you can actually go and click, and you can apply for it. It's going to take you to a portal similar to what you may see for, if you ever done a collision review, it's going to look very similar in terms of how the formatting is done. It's editable web forms. Kind of also looks a little bit like what you'll see on Travis Web, so the Alberta Transit Portal. You go, you answer the questions, you fill it out, you enter in your insurance amounts, you enter in your details, you present the results of your safety fitness certificate exam, make sure that's all there handy. You go through the process, you pay your fee. I believe new time, I think I paid 110 for mine. I think it's like 150 for the first times, and 110 for renewals. You go through it, and as long as everything is good, fine, and dandy, because it is subject to quality assurance reviews, you'll have an SFC ready for you in your Travis portal. So that's the key. They're not going to email you the SFC. They're going to load it to your profile online at Travis Web. So if you don't have an account, you're going to want to go just type, you can just Google Alberta Travis, and it will take you right there. It's the first link that pops up, and you can set yourself up for a portal. This portal is fantastic because this portal covers not only your SFC, but it will show you the results of any collision reviews you've had done. And most importantly, you can pull your carrier profile from this portal. So this place is going to be your best friend. And inside the documents section, carrier documents section of Travis Web is going to be the SFC. And it's going to actually have one of the ratings on there. If you're a brand new carrier, you've done all your prereqs and you're brand new, you're going to have a safety rating of satisfactory unaudited, meaning you've not been subject to a national safety code review or a national safety code audit, sorry. Most carriers are going to fall under the status of satisfactory. Satisfactory means that you've been audited, and you meet the standards set by Alberta Transportation, your risk factor score is acceptable, you're not on any monitoring, and you've not had your hands slapped by the government. Conditional is, okay, you've had some issues, government's now kind of interceding, they're slapping your hands, and they are putting restrictions on your SFC. It said you're able to regain your satisfactory status on conditions of X, Y, and Z, and you have to meet them without deviation. Unacceptable, well, that's pretty straightforward. Unacceptable is you're parked. I don't care who you are, you're parked, you're done. And as someone put it to me, once you're in the sin bin, it's going to be really hard to crawl yourself out of it. So you never want to be there. And then finally, for those who want to raise that, again, talk about that standard of excellence and raising that bar, then the excellent safety fitness rating remains for those carriers that participate in partners in compliance. So pick. So that's there where they're voluntarily subjecting themselves to a national safety code audit. They're willing to pay the money, have an auditor come in, check their program, and not only check the program to make sure it meets the marks, but meets PIC standards, which are even more rigorous. And when you do, you get the nice yellow plates, you get the nice rating on your carrier profile, you get some additional perks. But then we just hope like those are going to be like your industry leaders. Those are the ones you hope you're going to look and set the example and pave the way. Well, obviously a little bit of deviation there, so I'm sorry about that, but I figured you're going to get it. New carriers are going to start off at the satisfactory unaudited, and 9 to 12 months after they get their brand new driver's license, well, they're going to meet an NSC auditor of some type in terms of a new carrier compliance review. So they are going to have to, on their own accord, they're going to have to contact a National Safety Code auditor, and they're going to have to arrange a review of their program. So this is where you're going to be subject to reviewing your safety program. You're going to review your hours of service. You're going to review your maintenance program, and they're going to get in there and they're going to score you based on it. Now, I've seen it done. I had one contractor do it in 2020. Not bad, neat little new document, kind of cool. Doesn't look the same as it would for like a national safety code audit. It's a little formatted a little differently. It's a little bit, I don't know, Josh, you've seen those new carrier quizzes, right? Those kind of carrier compliance quizzes.
Yes.
I'd call them halfway between the full arc and halfway between a carrier compliance quiz, because they know it's going to take some time for you to get there. Yes. And as long as there's no huge issues, you're going to carry on. They will give you homework. You're never going to walk away without having something to do. But the thing is like if you're diligent in setting yourself up for success prior to applying for that SFC, and you know how the process works, you should be able to walk into an NCCR, new carrier compliance review, present your documents, smile at the auditor or the reviewer and be like, you know what, I'm going to be over here. You do your thing. Call me when you're done type of idea. That's the idea. If you can make it as simple for them, then it's simple. Then it's going to be simple for you. So that's where the diligence comes in long before you've applied for the document. Your skin in the game, go and do your homework. Go and research what actually needs to be done. Set up your hours of service program. Set up your maintenance program. Set up your driver files. Oh my gosh, have them ready to go. When I worked with the contractor that I set up, like I've spoken to you in the past, I recreated the ARC audit for myself. I reprinted it and whatever the case may be. I printed it for this guy, and I know, contrary to some people's opinion, where it's like, if they can't figure out the easier version, what makes you think they're going to have trouble with the hard one? True. But I'm like, you know what? No, we're going to raise the bar. We're going to push it. So I give them this, and I'm like, we're going to go through this document, and we're going to make sure that your files are set up according to this document. Yes. So this afternoon before here, I'm working with the guy, putting label makers on every one of these multi-tabbed files. It's like, here's your application. Here's your abstracts. Here's your training records. Here's where your CVIP's going to go. Here's where your hours of service records are going to go. Like just folder after folder after folder. And it's like, you're going to organize them this way. When they're done, you're going to pull them, archive them, mark the year, 4 years plus the current plus the year they were created. So you're going to have 4 years worth of archives. That's how it's going to be set up. When you do your as a federal carrier, you're required to do your hours of service reviews. You're supposed to audit your logbooks. If you're doing your auditing, have a record. I use mine, whereas mine's a little different. I recreated that tool too. And my 30 days and then my litany of questions all in the one doc. So my audit and my letters are 2 pages. Staple them, file them in one of those tabbed folders, three tabs for a quarter of the year. So January to April, May to August, September, December, backlog. So audit, letter, audit, letter. So if someone were to come knocking on the door, I'm like, oh, here's my hours of service folder. Here you go. Have fun. Here are the logs. Have fun.
Yes.
Because that's critical. Like those are the critical things that are going to make the difference between being successful in all of this. Like it's one thing to go and pay the fine, or not pay the fine, pay the fee and get the document and go through the steps. Sure, you could paint your paint by number your way through it. But really, it's applying. There's actually taking what you're learning and applying it long before you're driving, so that when you get to the point where you're actually driving, now it's like, oh, I've created this document. Oh, I know where this document goes.
Yes.
Okay. OHS talks about, sorry, I'm going to not a rant, but another side quest here as you were. OHS define competency: adequately qualified, suitably trained, sufficient experience, working alone with minimal to no direct supervision. But part of that whole thing of training is it's not just much to get the material, it's now applying the material. And that's where, before the wheels hit the ground, apply it. You're the carrier, you want to be a carrier, have your administrative back end set up, so that when you're creating the work and generating the revenue, you know where it's going. And it's just basically, then it becomes rinse, repeat. You do it after 6-7 months, you know where it's going. Rinse, repeat. And every 3 years when you renew your SFC, because that's what they are now, it's 3-year renewals, you're going to go through, you're going to do this application process again. You're going to check, have my business needs changed? Have this changed? But you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have these things in place? They're already there. And that's really kind of like the important part of this whole process. Yes. Making sure it's there the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's creating the plan and then executing the plan.
Right.
And that's one thing that I'm proud of our government for doing, is at least giving that opportunity. Some people see it as a unneeded burden, challenge, whatever, but I see it as an opportunity to do it right the first time. Because yeah, before, if you just, yes, I check a box, yes, I swear this, and then there's zero accountability.
Yeah.
It's not important, to throw out the window. But yeah, when you kind of in the back of your mind, when you're first starting out, you understand, okay, someone of much more expertise in this area than myself is going to make sure I have this. That part's nice. And then there's a little bit of skin in the game, like you said, where it's like, you're not starting your trucking outfit, whatever the service that you're offering, just to basically be shut down in 9 to 12 months. Like you're obviously in it to either sell it or you're in it to do it for quite some time. And yeah, knowing that, okay, you have to have a plan in advance. And I like the pre-steps too. And yeah, the course is smart. It's hard enough if you have no experience that you're going to learn something. And then those that have experience, it's kind of like in a sense, a refresher of, okay, yeah, confidence booster maybe. And then, yeah, even going to the registry, writing the test, different type of experience when people have like test phobias and stuff. But again, it's just to make sure you know your basics, and then, you have a plan out the gate. I think it's super strategic. And is it the ultimate solution? No, but I think it's definitely a step in the right direction to just make our roads safer, because there's accountability there.
Oh, for sure. And that's where I think about, when I think about these 30,000 some carriers in Alberta, most of which are going to have to get their SFC renewed by the end of February. So February 28, 2022, they're all expiring. They're all set to legislatively expire. I think about these 30,000 some carriers, so many of which that came into this prior to 2019. They're like, we just want to succeed. We want to make some money. We want to drive truck. We want to make it as simple as possible. And back then it was like, yeah, sure, pay your money, check your check marks, you're good to go. Don't even think about it, right? Because realistically, there are those who can think about that. That's just how their brains are wired. And there's some who are like, you know what, I'm the go-getter. I'm just like the worker. I'm the worker. Here's my vision. I want to drive. And I just think about those people who are here. Now we're asking them to broaden it a little bit and realize, oh, there's a lot more involved. And this will may likely be the first time they've actually had to go through and actually be challenged. Like, do I have the right insurance? Do I have everything I need to in place? Do I have a program that I may have to submit for review? Because let me say, you say option is, do you have it? They don't necessarily ask you to attach it if you don't want to attach it, but they could come back and challenge you for it. So in my case, I just submitted mine. And then for this, my new contractor, his manual's done. I got it all put together for him. And it's like, when you apply for your SFC, come see me. We'll apply together. We'll walk you through it. And we'll make sure you attach this file, because this way, this is their proof that you're willing to actually be accountable to what's going on the road. I think of those who are going to go through this process, this renewal process for the first time. And this is where I think for them, sure, they're an existing carrier. They may be driving safe. They may have some solid reputations. But if they've never considered this as part of their requirements, this could be very scary and very daunting, especially if they forget. If they forget to do it before that deadline, then their SFC will lapse. They will have to be parked until they go through the new carrier entry program, where now we're literally taking you all the way back to starting off at 511 Alberta. And you got to go through all this stuff. And then a year later, you're going to have a compliance reviewer knock on your door and see how you're doing. I think that's one stopgap and one failsafe. I think is very smart of both governments, the current one and its predecessor, to make sure that establishment stuck in. So I like that. I think that's important, that we'll grandfather a lot of you in, but if you want to stick around, you got to make sure you kind of raise yourself back up to that bar. So I applaud them for keeping it, because like you said, I think it's much needed, and it's only going to help us become safer, in my opinion, because you're now forced to think about it. You're forced to look outside the box and think about what's going on around you, recognizing those hazards exist, that you're putting the effort in to control them. And that's it. Industry is going to change. Technologies are changing. Here we are celebrating the launch of these semi-automatic vehicles, right? And these new platooning efforts. Guys, operators, carriers need to know what's going on. They need to know how this stuff works, and they need to know how to be compliant with it. So that's coming. Electronic log mandate, or ELD mandate. Not only are you worrying about that, you got to worry about putting an ELD in your vehicle if you're a federal carrier. That's another consideration you have to think about. So all this stuff is happening all around the same time. And as much as it sucks, because a lot of stuff at once can be quite overwhelming, but I also think it's good and healthy because you're thinking about that compliance mindset.
Yes.
And all those pieces, however disjointed you may think they are actually all quite interconnected quite nicely. But it all starts with that 1 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that says you're actually allowed to drive in Alberta. Yes. So.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think timing is everything. And did we know pre-Humboldt that this would happen all at the same time, basically in 2022, because ELD mandate, sure, it was June of this year, 2021.
Yeah.
Some things happen, obviously, don't want to talk too much about it. Now it's pushed more so the enforcement side to 2022, while the new, in Alberta specifically, your fitness certificate renewals is in 2022. And I think there's just a massive push for tech integration, really to simplify it. And honestly, shout out to Compliance Box, who is our sponsor, and just the fact that, yeah, I love their slogan, transport compliance made easy, because that's what they're doing. And I just, hats off to them, because they get it. It's their area of expertise. But when you're a new carrier and maybe you're local, maybe you just wanted to start, you have one dump truck, one trailer, one pup or whatever, and you're hauling gravel, you want to know at the end of the day, come that 9 to 12 months, I have everything in place. shout out to compliance box. And then when you get to the point where at your 3-year renewal, in the event you go through a different audit at that time, doesn't matter, still in place. So I think, yeah, that to me is why I'm so accepting of technology, is because the excuse I'm too busy. Okay, we hear that excuse. It doesn't matter anymore though, because really, how hard is it to plug in your name or plug in your vehicle VIN number or your license? Really, it's, I don't know, if you can shoot off a text message to the wife before you leave for wherever you're heading for the day, you can do the same thing. And then just the workflows that happen through that process, when they're just automatic, they're natural, they're easy to access. And then if an auditor needs something, no problem, here it is, log into this system. It's a big win. So when is the renewal date for existing carriers? When in 22 is that?
February 28th, 2022 is when you have to have it done. So by 23:59 hours on February 28th, 2022, that is when you have to have they have to have your SFC renewal on their system. Turnaround time when I did mine a couple months ago was 2 hours. From the time I submitted to the time I received the new document, 2 hours. Obviously, if we keep pushing it, it could be some more delays in the system, because a lot of it too can be automated. There is quality assurance, but again, it is also a workflow. If it meets this, boom, here you go, document issued. But if there's only a few people in Red Deer reviewing these things, you don't want to be reviewing 30,000 of them all at once, because I'm pretty sure they'd be like, no, I'm done. And you run the risk. My recommendation to anyone doing it is do it now. Don't wait till February. Do it now. It isn't going to hurt you. It's only going to help you in the long run. Because February 28th is also the day most people have to have their WCB returns done. There's a lot of stuff going on in February too. So don't chop yourself off at the knees just to save yourself some time. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Yes.
So is that on the Travis portal that you go to complete it, or?
There's a website. There's a link again on the Alberta government website where to actually fill it out. I believe it's connected somehow to Travis, but it's not actually in Travis where you do it. But the same link where you can find information about the SFC, there's also a link there that says if you're going to renew your SFC, just scroll further down the page. So we'll make sure that we pop that in the comments or feeds for people later.
Yes. And what documentation do people need to have prepared just so they have the right information when they're filling it out?
Have your certificate of insurance handy. Make sure that you meet those. Make sure you meet those requirements. Make sure you're having the right amount of liability, your general liability, your automobile liability, your dangerous goods, and then your cargo. Make sure you're carrying the appropriate amount of cargo insurance. Make sure you have your safety program handy. Make sure it's all ready to go in a nice PDF format. Yeah, make it easy for yourself. Send it as a PDF. Make sure, have your existing NSC number, your MVID ID, which you'll also get from your existing SFC or your carrier profile, because you know what? Have your carrier profile all the time is always going to be your best friend, because at the same time, you're going to be able to see if there's any surprises on there that you should probably be aware of.
Yes.
And then realistically, know your business. If you have a business plan, make sure you have that in there. If you're going to make the choice to switch from provincial to federal, provincial, honestly, no time like the present to do it, because they're going to ask you, where is your business operating? If you're going to make the change, this is the time to make it. If you're an existing carrier, if you're going to do it, make it now. Decide what you want to do and then do it. Weigh out the pros, weigh out the cons. But yeah, there's no better time like this renewal to actually go from there. And then ultimately, really have your credit card handy, because they are going to send you to basically the permit payment page. The same page you would go to pay for your permits is the same place you're going to go to pay for the SFC renewal. So make sure you have a valid credit card handy to go. Awesome. I believe Visa, MasterCard. I can't remember if they do Amex or not, but I think if it's Visa, MasterCard, you're good to go.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
Simple, straightforward, but just do your homework at a time. It just makes the process that much easier.
Perfect. No, this was awesome. And I like that you were able to confidently explain, because that simplifies the process. And when people go, you're kind of like, is it that difficult? But the fact that it was bang, 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 this is what you got to do, And I really like the conviction that you speak with and that you lead with, because it really does help others lead that way. And it's also an accountability attraction. So all in all, I just really appreciate it. What kind of, as we come to a close, what, I guess, advice, encouragement would you share to both new carriers or about to be carriers, if we want to call them that, and existing carriers when they're managing their compliance? What advice and encouragement would you share?
My advice and my encouragement to those carriers is take advantage of the resources available to you. Take advantage of the people. Network, become involved. Like, obviously, if they're listening to us, you're connecting people with industry. You're connecting industry specialists with industry specialists. Make sure they're reaching out to those connections. Make sure that if you are part of various different safety associations, stay engaged, stay committed. We do have one for transportation. If you pay WCB, you're part of it. You're part of that family. Make sure that you stay plugged in. There are a list of consultants and auditors available at the government website as well. If you're looking for a safety consultant, there's a whole new slew of new auditors out there, and that consulting space is growing. There are multiple here in the province of Alberta, so many different subject experts, and each one offers something just a little bit different, which kind of adds to the flair. And they're all over the province. Network to them, reach out to them, use what's available, but also to take the time to do it right the first time. Don't feel embarrassed, discouraged, frustrated. That's like, is this really as simple as this Jeremy guy making out to be? It's like, my stuff is crap, or whatever the case may be. If you find it's not where it's at, then accept it. Someone said to me today, lift in place behind the 8 ball. Recognize that you're behind an 8 ball, and you're going to learn and grow from it. So that's where you're like, okay, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to do this. In my case, coming into my experience, like I said to you last year, I threw the grenade in my office. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. It wasn't where I felt it should have been. And throw the grenade. Let it land. Let it blow up, because now you have a chance to rebuild it and make it exactly the way you want it. There are documents available. There are references available. I know I can make sure that I say I have resources if people want to have access to them. You can be in contact. I've made them for my carrier. Simple graphic edit change. It's like, well, here, make them for you. Here you go. Here's something that can potentially work for you. And if it helps and helps you guys succeed, well, then great. Because we don't succeed if we can't succeed as an industry if not every one of us is succeeding. And I know it might be very contradictory, very different mindset, or it's like, well, no, we're all in the business to make money. I'm like, yes, but how are we making money if we're not all compliant? If our road incidents continue to rise, premiums rise, we're only going to be squeezing people out. Everyone gets hurt by everyone wins or everyone doesn't win together, whether you want to admit it or not. So reach out, be there. People are there, and people are more than willing to help. I think that's one thing this industry, people have a misconception that it's all rough and tough, but no, I found more people willing to help and lift you up than I ever anticipated or ever expected. So that was a huge blessing for me, and I know that's the same blessing that can be for anybody else watching this today that needs it.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's powerful. And I completely agree. And I align with that way of thinking. Absolutely. So when people have questions, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they can get in contact with me here. Well, email will be here. So I have a personal one that's used for my own practice. I'm on Facebook. Well, have someone do this. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all them good fun, LinkedIn, all them good fun stuff. But my own video will be like, click on the bottom, subscribe, all good fun. But no, realistically, no. I'm very active on social media. LinkedIn is probably the best place if you're going to get real awesome compliance, industry-related issues. If you like some fun pictures, well, you'll see me there. I'll share some of the odd experiences I had. Facebook, well, Facebook's Facebook. And then, yeah, just don't ask me to be like, Jeremy, give us the most profound advice on Twitter. No, don't do yourself a favor and don't do that. Just don't do that. But no, seriously though, I will make sure to say emails down here. I will leave, if they want a number, they can reach out to you, Josh. You have it. You can share it with people who are interested in having it. They can reach out that way. But yeah, email, LinkedIn, best places to go. And then eventually I'll get my own website up and running in the next little bit. It's one of the things that I need to do, but still taking those baby steps myself. But eventually it'll be there and everyone will see. Otherwise, the other place to day by day, contact me at Chariot Express. We'll have Chariot's phone number, and yeah, just call Chariot's phone number and ask for Jeremy. And then that's just as easy as anything else. So definitely a way to get a hold of me. I'm not a private person.
Awesome. Yeah, Jeremy, honestly, today was awesome. And I just really appreciate the value, the confidence, the insights, you need to knows. And I think that's super important, especially for those that are just starting out. And yeah, the fact that you could start let's go down this direction, but it actually impacts this direction. I think that's super huge. So again, just thank you so much for hopping on today. This was awesome.
Oh, it's fun, Josh. Always as a pleasure. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic day.
Absolutely. Yeah, you as well. And just thank you so much again, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, Jeremy, honestly, as always, you knocked it out of the park. Really appreciate just the passion, the knowledge, and the confidence that you shared today. I really do believe it was valuable for different commercial carriers. First, those looking to enter, but also those current, especially with the deadline coming up of February 28th, 2022. All of the important notes and links that Jeremy mentioned throughout the episode are below. Make sure that if you are applying for a renewal, so you have an expiry date on your current safety fitness certificate, you get your renewal done before February 28th, 2022. Because if you don't, it's a whole different ballgame of processes and documentation and a test and everything. So make sure that you get it done. Honestly, if you're first coming into the industry, really take Jeremy's advice that he shared today on starting out right, making sure that you have all of the required documentation in place from the beginning. So that way, you know that as you go and you hit that 9 to 12 month mark, you have your carrier compliance review, you're good to go. You're not questioning, oh, if I have this, oh, do I have that? You're confident, please reach out. There is a list of auditors in the government, based off the government's website that I have included below, but also reach out because we're really well connected with a couple super good auditors, treat you fair, but they're really knowledgeable and they'll really help teach while auditing. And it's a good opportunity. So feel free to contact us for that. Again, Jeremy, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. It means the world. Just your constant impact in the industry, your advice, and then also willingness to hop on means a lot. So thank you. So to all of our dedicated listeners, or if this is the first time you've ever checked out a Truck Focus podcast, I just wanted to say thank you. Honestly, as I love to say, the greater the following, the greater the impact. And we just really appreciate just all of the constant support, the kind messages, the kind words, and we're really grateful that you see value in what we're trying to do at the Truck Focus podcast. If you're listening to this on any major podcast platform, I do ask you to subscribe. Simply hit the subscribe button so that way you're notified of all upcoming episodes. I also ask if you receive value in today's episode that you share it to whoever you feel necessary. So whoever's an appropriate audience, please share it because there's some really good information shared today. If you are watching this on YouTube, same thing. I ask you to subscribe, hit the notifications button so that way you're notified of all of upcoming episodes. We do release an episode at least once a week, normally Monday mornings, but also we have been lately posting on Wednesdays and sometimes Fridays. So there's lots of really good information coming out. If you've not yet done so, I also suggest you sign up for the Truck Focus newsletter. It's a once a month newsletter where it's just a different way for our industry leaders to be connected to industry to help solve problems that you're going through. So if it's an insurance inquiry, if it's more on WCB, on compliance, on telematics, tons of good stuff, make sure that you check it out. So of course, the link for that is also in the notes below. So again, thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you so much for hopping on. And I just hope you have a really good day and let's create a pivotal impact. Bye.